How would you feel if you could go to the Cleveland Browns and play with Shedeur Sanders?
That'd be amazing. My brother's up there with the Cavs, so definitely would get to spend a lot of quality time with him and just being able to see how he handles his business and how he works his tail off and stuff like that. So it'd be amazing. I love it.
Shedeur has confidence in his guys, and he's going to go ahead and throw it up for him to make some magic happen, right? So he wants to push the ball. He wants to make things happen, right? And this is what the full day of all the throwing looked like. And, you know, kind of like I said, man, very productive day, right? Very, very seemingly competitive day. Hey, everybody was talking about Deshaun.
Shedeur Sanders just confidently walked onto the grass for day 2 of the Cleveland Browns' highly scrutinized training camp. And within a matter of hours, he managed to make absolutely every single one of his loudest critics look incredibly foolish. The throws were razor sharp, the complex defensive reads were lightning fast, and the unshakable confidence that everyone tried to label as arrogance never dropped for a single fleeting second. Absolutely nobody in the mainstream sports media wanted to honestly admit that a 5th-round draft pick was actually this physically and mentally ready for the brutal reality of the National Football League. But Shedeur didn't beg for their approval. He simply stepped between the white lines and violently proved them all wrong in front of the entire coaching staff. Before we get into the gritty, highly controversial details of absolutely everything that went down on that practice field, I need you to drop a comment right now. Did you genuinely believe in Shedeur Sanders from day one? Or did you let the toxic, relentless media noise get into your head? Because what just happened on that Cleveland turf is going to permanently change exactly how the football world looks at this young man. Stay completely locked in, because we are breaking down every single defining moment of Shedeur's explosive day 2, and you absolutely do not want to miss a single second of this highly revealing analysis.
QB1, let's hear it. Mr. Mike Lucas, let's go.
If you ask Todd to give him true serum, who do you want to be your quarterback? Like, who do you want to step forward and win that job? I bet you his answer is Shedeur Sanders.
I don't know that I agree with that.
I'm not saying he's going to. I think,
in fact, I would say he wanted to be Deshaun Watson because he, like everybody else, saw what Deshaun Watson once was. And that player, as unlikely as it is that that player will ever exist again, that player was one of the best quarterbacks in football.
No doubt about
Shedeur Sanders has never been that.
Fact.
Not fair, it's been 1 year, but one guy you've seen be one of the best players in football, one other guy you've never seen come anywhere close.
We have to start by talking about the explosive quote that completely set the tone for the entire week. Wide receiver Jordan Tyson absolutely did not just politely answer a standard media question. He revealed something incredibly raw and authentic about the shifting culture inside the Cleveland locker room. When a professional receiver is asked how he would feel about playing with Shedeur Sanders, and his immediate, unscripted reaction is pure, unadulterated excitement, that tells you absolutely everything you need to know. Tyson didn't casually say he would tolerate it. He didn't give a standard robotic PR response about it being fine or just doing his job. He loudly stated that it would be amazing. That specific word carries massive, undeniable weight in an NFL locker room. Professional wide receivers absolutely do not get that visibly excited about a young quarterback they do not completely trust. They only get that hyped about a quarterback who organically commands respect and actively makes their highly difficult jobs significantly easier. Tyson already intimately knows exactly what Shedeur brings to the table. He has watched the grueling tape. He has closely observed exactly how Shedeur carries himself in the facility, how obsessively he prepares in the film room, and how he relentlessly grinds when the television cameras are completely turned off. That raw excitement was absolutely not a performance for the local beat reporters. It was incredibly real. That is the exact kind of magnetic pull Shedeur Sanders already possesses, before he has even played a single, meaningful, regular season snap in a Cleveland Browns uniform. That is absolutely not normal for a young player. That is the undeniable mark of an alpha leader organically building an empire from the ground up without even having to force it.
I I'm telling you, if Shedeur is saying anything, if he's revealing anything, it's how bad Kevin Stefanski was at getting the most out of these quarterbacks, right? Maybe Todd Monken has more of a pulse as an offensive mind to get the greatness out of both of these quarterbacks. And when it comes down to that, I think it's just about health ability and availability, right? And I think Shedeur is going to win that battle. But it's gonna be a battle. 10 for 16 for our guy too. 1 interception. I will say we're gonna look at the interception. The guy, our guy Malachi Tony, he actually or Malachi Corley, he slowed down. He gave up on the route midway through. He tried to give him a go ball, and then the guy made a good play too. That's gonna be a separate video too.
But that was just the beginning of the story. Let's get into the actual physical mechanics of what Shedeur did on that practice field. Because this is exactly where the narrative becomes utterly catastrophic for every single pundit who blindly claimed he was not ready for the professional level. He absolutely wasn't just casually tossing the football around to kill time. He was aggressively, violently pushing the ball downfield with extreme, calculated intention. He was actively making explosive things happen on purpose. If you watch young, inexperienced quarterbacks in their first major NFL camps, they are usually terrified. They constantly check down to the running back. They play it incredibly safe, terrified of throwing an interception and ruining their fragile reputation with the coaching staff. Shedeur did the exact polar opposite. He was relentlessly attacking the secondary. He was deeply trusting his wide receivers to physically win their one-on-one matchups. And he was deliberately placing the football into incredibly tight, high-leverage windows where absolutely only his guy could get 2 hands on it. That is absolutely not a rookie tentatively feeling his way through a complex practice script. That is a highly intelligent, lethal quarterback who already intrinsically knows exactly what he wants the offense to do, and simply goes out and executes it. Every single throw leaving his hand had a violent purpose behind it. Every single complex split-second decision was made incredibly fast and with absolutely zero hesitation. That elite level of confidence in a setting that hyper-competitive does not just magically materialize out of thin air. It comes from thousands of hours of obsessive, dark-room preparation. It comes from supreme, unbreakable self-belief. And Shedeur Sanders had absolutely both of those traits on full, terrifying display.
We got some things to clean up, right? But at the end of the day, and that's what I'd be saying about there it is. Oh, let's talk about it. I wish I would show you from here, but this is what's it called? I would like a little more velocity on this too. I would like a little more heat on this too. But I think he's thinking, again, Malachi was supposed to just keep running, so really he should be stacked. But this is a good play. Like I mean, this is fingertips, guys. This is not people are like, oh, it's underthrown. I mean, it's underthrown by what, 2 yards? If it's 2 yards here, like this dude is bit. Look at him. That boy look like a banana. Like that's a big time play right there. But no matter, hey, interception's an interception. Good play, right? Let's get on the same page as Corley, right? And I'm gonna show you.
And yet, here is exactly what makes this entire media circus so incredibly insane and deeply frustrating to watch. While Shedeur was out there being incredibly sharp, highly aggressive, and undeniably winning the day against a very talented Browns defense, the national conversation was still being forcefully, awkwardly pulled toward a completely different player. The talking heads were still trying to desperately center the conversation around Deshaun Watson, exactly as if Shedeur hadn't just put together one of the absolute most highly productive days of the entire offseason process. The mainstream media actively wanted to look away from the truth unfolding right in front of their eyes. The stubborn doubters desperately wanted to find a different, more comfortable storyline to cling to. But the raw practice footage simply does not lie. The undeniable results were right there on the grass. Very highly productive. Extremely competitive. Those are absolutely not the words you use for a young guy who is drowning in the playbook and struggling to keep his head above water. Those are the specific, targeted words that accurately describe someone who showed up, laced his cleats, and ruthlessly handled his business when the pressure was at its absolute highest. Shedeur Sanders absolutely did not ask for the heavy spotlight on day 2 of camp. He violently earned it, and no matter how incredibly hard some biased people in the media tried to artificially shift the focus away from him, the sheer dominance of his performance spoke infinitely louder than any of their empty noise. Which brings us directly to the most absurd, logic-defying argument currently circulating through the Cleveland sports media. We need to be brutally, undeniably honest about what was just said in that viral podcast conversation. A supposedly educated analyst actually sat down in front of a microphone and attempted to seriously argue that the Browns' new head coach, Todd Monken, secretly, desperately wants Deshaun Watson to win the starting job over Shedeur Sanders. And what exactly was the brilliant, analytical reasoning behind this take? The entire argument rested on the hollow premise that Watson was once great. That is it. That is literally the entirety of the argument. He was great once upon a time. Not that he is actively great right now. Not that he has shown absolutely anything impressive on the field recently. Not that he has given the city of Cleveland a single solitary reason to believe in his leadership over the last few years. Just the desperate hope that a long time ago, before absolutely everything fell apart, before the devastating injuries, before the massive off-field controversies, and before the complete, catastrophic collapse of his professional career, he was a really good quarterback. That is the phantom ghost they are desperately holding on to. A player that simply, undeniably no longer exists in reality. And they actively want to use the fading memory of that ghost to completely dismiss a young, dynamic quarterback who is fully alive, completely healthy, starving for greatness, and actively proving his worth right now in real time. The undeniable fact that this incredibly weak argument is even being made out loud tells you exactly how deeply desperate the anti-Shedeur crowd has truly become. They have absolutely nothing current or factual to use against him. So, they are forced to borrow empty nostalgia from the past. We absolutely have to talk deeply about the reality of Deshaun Watson, because this uncomfortable truth needs to be said, and absolutely nobody in the mainstream media wants to say it out loud. That elite, dynamic 2020 version of Deshaun Watson that they keep nostalgically bringing up is completely, permanently gone. It is absolutely not walking back through those facility doors. The Cleveland Browns famously mortgaged their entire future and gave that man $230 million in fully guaranteed money, the most lucrative, ironclad contract in NFL history at that time, and he has given them absolutely nothing of substance in return. Disaster does not even begin to accurately cover what that massive anchor-like contract became for this franchise. He structurally could not stay healthy. He fundamentally could not produce on the field. He absolutely could not lead that talented roster anywhere close to sustainable, championship-level winning. The city of Cleveland waited for him for years. They were incredibly, painfully patient. The front office repeatedly rebuilt the entire offensive structure around his specific preferences. They handed him absolutely every possible expensive resource and provided every possible media excuse, and he still unequivocally could not deliver the goods. So, the completely fabricated idea that new head coach Todd Monken is currently sitting in a dark film room somewhere, desperately wishing that Watson would magically turn back the clock and become that 2020 version of himself again, is not just factually wrong. It is deeply, professionally embarrassing. You absolutely do not go backward to a deeply flawed player who financially and culturally broke your franchise. You aggressively move forward. And moving forward in the city of Cleveland undeniably means handing the keys to Shedeur Sanders. Here is exactly what makes this entire manufactured comparison completely, fundamentally unfair to Shedeur. And every single analyst acting like it is a legitimate talking point desperately needs to hear this truth. They are harshly judging a very young Shedeur Sanders directly against the absolute peak of a veteran's career that took multiple years to successfully build. Deshaun Watson absolutely did not casually walk into the National Football League as a rookie and immediately look like one of the best, most flawless quarterbacks in the world. He had significant time to develop. He had massive organizational support. He had a fully tailored offensive system meticulously built around his unique skill set. Shedeur has barely had a cup of coffee in this league. And yet, during his time in college, he consistently showed elite poise, pinpoint accuracy, off-the-charts football intelligence, and the incredibly rare ability to perform at a Heisman level under suffocating pressure, while playing behind one of the absolute worst, most porous offensive lines in the entire country. The absolute fact that he has not yet statistically matched the multi-year peak of a veteran NFL Pro Bowler is absolutely not a negative indictment of Shedeur's talent. It is just basic, undeniable logic. You simply do not compare the very beginning of someone's journey to the absolute pinnacle of someone else's peak. You carefully watch the current trajectory. And right now, Shedeur's career trajectory is pointed straight up into the stratosphere, while Watson's trajectory is pointed somewhere incredibly dark that absolutely nobody in the Cleveland front office actually wants to talk about. The answer is glaringly obvious. It has always been glaringly obvious to anyone paying attention. But this entire situation exposes something even bigger, and it heavily involves the massive coaching shakeup that completely altered the trajectory of the Cleveland Browns. If Shedeur's immediate success is revealing anything, it is exposing exactly how incredibly bad former head coach Kevin Stefanski truly was at getting the absolute most out of the quarterback position. Stefanski had elite, highly paid quarterback talent walk through those facility doors for years, and he managed to systemically waste absolutely every single bit of it. That is absolutely not a harsh subjective opinion anymore. That is a cold, hard, historical fact that this current training camp situation is now violently exposing in real time. Because the exact moment the Browns ownership finally woke up, fired Stefanski, sent him packing to Atlanta in early 2026, and put a brilliant, innovative offensive mind like Todd Monken in the head coach's chair, the results on the field started to look completely, radically different. Shedeur Sanders is obviously not a brand new human being. His throwing arm didn't magically get stronger overnight. His football processing brain did not download a massive software upgrade while he was sleeping. What dramatically changed was the offensive system fully surrounding him and the elite coach calling the plays into his helmet. And that massive structural difference is already aggressively showing up on the practice field.